Hello, my name is Aaron, and I've watched entirely too much Star Trek.
And my name is Clara, and I've watched none.
These are the voyages of the Friendship Enterprise.
Its continuing mission to boldly go where I've never gone before.
So, Clara, what
Aaron,
are little girls made of?
As someone who used to be a little girl,
Yeah.
I can tell you that we are made of, blood, bones, organs, tissue, hair, eyeballs. That's an organ. Is there anything else that humans are made of? Cartilage, standard human stuff is what little girls are made of.
Okay.
So
you were prepared for this episode, then?
I was, yeah, because I already knew what little girls are made of. Hair, blood, bones, tissue, organs, cartilage, etc.
Robot parts?
That is actually typically, I don't think, found in a standard little girl. I'm not sure. I can only speak from my own experience as a little girl. I didn't have any robot parts that I know of. Perhaps now I have them as a full-grown woman, and I've just never known.
I mean, that's kind of how this episode goes, right? Is we all find out we have robot parts.
Yeah. So what was happening in the world?
What was happening in the world? What does the New York Times have to say about Thursday, October 20th, 1966? So the day of this episode aired. Let's see, what do we have here? This is from the Late City edition, a thing that is itself a throwback.
Right.
So President Johnson appeals to Hanoi to end a war it can't win. This is 1966, by the way. And it says, in New Zealand's speech, he calls North Vietnam to join fight on poverty. Unclear. A new Asia envisioned. We were bombing the absolute shit out of this country at this point.
Great.
Yeah. So anyway, he promises assistance of U.S. and drive towards enlightened future.
Oh, great. Enlightened.
Yeah. Someone else, Senator George D. Aiken, made what the Times calls, in quotes, a far-fetched proposal for achieving peace in Vietnam, that the United States declare that it has won the war. And honestly, it's refreshing to know that our political class has always been this fucking brain dead. This isn't a new development. Mao's fighting with his rivals, so we're right in the middle of the Great Leap Forward, I think. Here.
Yeah.
So that's in the news.
66?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
A lot of Vietnam news. Impact of Vietnam on the midterm elections likely to be light. Check finds.
Oh, good. Well, good. Okay. But mostly Vietnam.
Mostly Vietnam, yeah, for the most part.
So an escape to space would not have been the worst thing for a lot of people.
But there's a great picture of LBJ watching a Maori warrior doing his little dance.
Oh, cool.
In New Zealand, actually.
Lyndon B or Lady Bird?
Just Lyndon. They didn't let Lady out of the house.
I'm obsessed with the fact that Lyndon B. Johnson married Lady Bird Johnson, yes, and they were both. Well, Lady Bird was all one word, but still.
Yeah.
Also, the fact that her name was Lady Bird.
Yes.
It's really wonderful. But I digress. Let's get into the episode.
So, Enterprise shows up to this ice planet. We love an ice planet.
We love an ice planet.
Big, beautiful ice planet.
Big, beautiful asbestos planet.
Yes. We got the popcorn ceiling again. They apparently had a popcorn ceiling machine.
Literally jotted in my notes how many people got asbestos poisoning from Star Trek sets. Because it truly looks like someone just went in there with an asbestos and just foamed everything. And you can tell when they touch it, it's a little springy. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I think as long as you weren't the person spraying it,
we were probably okay. Yeah. But yeah, there's a lot of
I don't know. Well, it's a cave set, so you're gonna get a lot of that.
It's a nice planet, but they're underground, so.
Yeah, and Majel Barrett is back, but she's blonde this time. She's not gray anymore.
Correct.
She apparently either got a dye job or a new wig.
Yep.
We have to talk about the wigs. I don't know why all the women have wigs on this show.
I don't know. Are they all wigs?
I know. Was a wig. Oh, with that blonde hair, that's got to be a wig.
I don't know. It's just weird.
Are you sure? I think it's a wig. I think it's a wig, but you might be right.
There's one point at the end where I was like, "Does she have like a rat tail ponytail?"
Yeah, okay. There is like a little whoop-de-doo thing in the back.
It's like a different color than the rest of her hair.
I think she's wearing a wig. But anyway, she's back. She's blonde. She's younger now, I guess. Maybe a different character entirely.
Well, I think she is. Well, what did you say her name was?
Well, she's Nurse Chapel in this one. I don't know. But should we get a name for her?
She gets a name.
Okay. That was
anyway, this is the woman. This is the same actress who is Gene Roddenberry's wife.
And the computer
voice. So if you're like, who the hell are you talking about?
Clearly haven't listened to the early episodes.
I haven't listened to the earlier episodes. But yeah, so this woman, Christine, is back.
Right. And she's apparently had a long-lost fiance for 5 years, which seems like a long time.
Yep.
In the future to pine after a guy who's honestly not that great.
Not that great. We'll get to that.
We'll get to that. But so they get this distress call that they're... Well, okay, so I should back up. He's been missing for like 5 years. Yeah. They've sent other rescue parties to try to find him. They can't find him. The last message they got from him is the ominous thing that he discovered caverns in the planet.
Yes.
And so they're assuming he went underground.
Correct.
And then was never heard of him again. He's like this famous exobiologist. They call him the pasteur of some sort of archaeology.
Yes.
Which is an insane description, but one I also kind of want for my LinkedIn.
Yeah, I'm the pasteur of research development.
Yeah.
Development research, if I even knew what I did.
But he's apparently responsible for all these advances in vaccines and treatments.
He's supposed to be this great humanist.
Yes, that's the other thing, which is important.
Christine talks about how he would never hurt anyone.
No.
Human,
animal or insect.
Vegetable. He wouldn't hurt it.
A vegetable.
Well, we don't know. Well, we do see some food in this
episode, it's all vegetables,
which I have some notes about, and he did hurt some vegetables. Yeah. But anywho, we'll get there.
Yeah, so this is Dr. Roger Corby, for those of you keeping score at home. And he has his little manservant, Dr. Brown, who's his spooky assistant. He's kind of like the Igor character to the which we'll talk more about later. And then he also has his giant bodyguard, who... Do you know who the actor is who plays him?
No, I was trying to figure it out. This is my fun fact. Okay, Aaron's going to teach me something. So, I was trying to figure it out because I feel like I should know who this giant person is.
Yeah, he's huge. He's a huge man. And he's also in a muscle suit, I think, to make his chest look huge.
It's not Andre the Giant.
No, it's not Andre the Giant. It is Lurch from the Addams Family.
Oh.
It's the same actor. So he's Ruck in this one, which is this giant android who can imitate voices. Yeah. And has really chiseled cheekbones.
Apparently, but you can tell it's
just makeup. Yeah, it's just makeup. And he also has he has the George Michael from Arrested Development muscle suit on underneath it because his torso is huge.
Yes, massive.
And if you've seen the actor in real life, he doesn't look like that.
And his name is Rock.
Ruck.
Ruck?
Well, it sounds like Rock when they say it, but I looked it up and it's R-U-K.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, it sounds like Rock.
It sounds like they say Rock, and this guy literally doesn't.
He looks like
he's sprung from the Rock.
But he has a cute little
Oh my gosh, I have a note about this.
I won't steal them, but we'll come back to the costume, I guess, at some point. But he's also this enforcer.
Yes.
And then there's Andrea. My only note is Andrea equals smoke show.
Yeah, I mean, Andrea's hot.
She's hot as hell. I'm sorry.
Christine refers to her as a geisha.
Yeah, not just a geisha, a mechanical geisha. Who's played by this actress who I think was a big TV star, I want to say.
I mean, she's hot as hell.
She's fine as hell. She's in the skimpiest, how would you even describe it? Because it's pants, but a overall, folks. But without the part in the middle is just straps that come across her boobs.
Yeah, so folks.
Am I allowed to say boobs on this podcast?
Yeah, I think so.
Her breasts.
For those of you at home, it is. It's she's wearing overalls, but instead of a bib up top, it's 2 straps that cross, and each of them just barely goes over her boobs.
Kind of a bikini-like thing, but it's smaller.
And then it connects to the pants.
Yeah, so it loops over the front and the back.
And in the back it looks really funny because they're big buttons, so it looks
I know, it's like Mickey Mouse pants.
Yeah, so from the back it's really comical, but then from the front it's this really sexy, if she makes one wrong move, her boob is gonna pop out. Because my big question was, how are her breasts so perky in something that clearly has no support?
There must be something built in.
There has to be, or that's just how things are in the future.
Well, I mean, I assume there's something.
I mean, she is mechanical, so she has pneumonic breasts. She doesn't have to worry about sort of migration, and I'll leave it at that. Yeah. But there has to be something built into that costume that functions as a bra, because there's
nothing.
No way.
There's no support there,
unless you are literally a man in that. Your boobs are gonna be sagging a little.
It's gotta be the first appearance on network TV of side boob.
You think?
I don't know, maybe not, but
probably not.
Most egregious, maybe.
Maybe but it's a really skimpy, little number.
While also being weirdly
weirdly
onesie for a child.
Yeah.
On the bottom.
Well,
but they're bell bottoms. It's a weird outfit.
Well, yeah,
so Harlequin kind of, because they have different. So they all have matching costumes except for Ruck, who's in this silver glittery thing. But everyone else has these blue and green, kind of Harlequin-y, medieval kind of.
Yeah, so they're really funny looking.
But they're jumpsuits for the men, and then.
Yeah, I squealed when I saw Dr. Brown's, which are kind of overalls.
Yeah, they're right.
His are essentially Andrea's, but he has a shirt on.
He has a shirt on, right? And then Dr. Corby has the full
is a full jumpsuit,
zip up mechanic jumpsuit kind of thing, but no pockets.
But yes, they're all wearing this same costume. One of these people who Kirk and Chris, he instructs Kirk that he and Christine are allowed to beam down.
Well, at first it's only Kirk, right? And then Christine's "Hello, my love."
He's "Oh, it's you. You can come.
You can meet my robot woman."
Yeah, it's so awkward. So they beam down, and then they're "Okay, something's weird here." Yeah. They ask for 2 security officers. One of them falls down a crevice,
mysterious,
and then the other one kind of dies off screen.
Oh no, we see him get
that's
choked out again.
Sorry, yes. You hear a scream.
You do.
Falls,
the one
I think it dies.
You get a Wilhelm
scream a little bit. And then it's revealed all this kind of stuff is going on. Dr. Corby, instead of having Dr. Brown and Andrea, he has 2 androids who are Dr. Brown and Andrea, but now it raises all this question about androids. And then he shows us, look, I can make an android by making an android version of Kirk, which then becomes really confusing.
Yes.
And so it's become sort of this the end of the latter half of the episode is sort of this ethical argument.
It is
of what do we do with androids, and is it okay to replace humans with androids? And I love the question of what do we do with an android in a society dominated by humans. So I liked this episode from that fact. I will say this show is always 25% hornier than it needs to be, and I think this episode really shows us that.
It's way more hornier than it needs to be.
But let's back up. So now that's the kind of the plot, right? Other than this one sentence plot summary, kind of beat by beat. There are a few things that I really love in this first scene. When they're still on the Enterprise, they're trying to communicate with Corby. They don't think it's working. Uhura's sitting there. They do a shot of her fingers. Her fingernails, again, incredible manicure.
Yeah.
I can't get over their amazing manicures. But yeah, she has this another really incredible manicure. So I'm just going to be taking notes of these really great manicures.
There's some other really great manicures.
The thing that I love, it's so tasteful. It seems very 60s, but it also seems very modern, right? If I saw a woman with this beautiful almond shaped fingernail, I would be what a chic look. And same thing here. However many years ago, I'm
stylish then, stylish now.
55 years ago, let's say. Yeah. So yeah, then they so those are some things I like early on.
Mm-hmm.
They beam down, all great. I am obsessed with this shot of Dr. Brown when they first meet him. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, where he's in silhouette backlit.
Yeah, it's so good.
It's a really great shot.
Yeah. I'm I don't notice camera movements a lot. You know that. I'm not. That's not what I'm glomming onto. But I love it. So it's for the listeners at home who don't have a visual of this, it's he's completely backlit, so all you see is his silhouette, and then he turns his head, but you don't know if he's facing right towards them or away from them, and then the light on him comes up, and he's facing towards them, which is surprising. Mm-hmm. It kind of threw me off because I figured they said something, he turned his head, he's turning around to look at them, and then the light comes on, and he's giving them this beautiful profile of himself. And I don't know, I love that it's very unexpected. Mm-hmm. It's really dramatic. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, I just really liked this choice. Whoever was directing it and made this choice, that's how this first time we would see this character, these androids, is this silhouette where you don't know, right? Are you looking at the front or the back? Mm-hmm. And then again, the view you're getting of them once you see them is a little bit less expected.
Yeah, up to this point, most of the lighting's been warmer shades because the cave is pretty groovy. Actually, it's a lot of purples, reds, oranges, and then he's backlit by this icy blue, electric
spotlight, basically.
Yeah, so it's an interesting choice from that angle too, because everywhere else in this episode, for the most part, the lighting is more these warmer shades because we're in a space cave.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a great shot. I was not expecting that.
No, not at all. It's very cool.
Yeah, it was very cool.
And then again, unexpected that's not Dr. Corby, right? Because you think oh, here he is, and it's oh no, this is Dr. Brown, his assistant. And then he's acting weird from the beginning. Yeah, there's something's going on. There's weird.
The vibes are bad.
The vibes are really bad. And then Dr. Corby comes out, and his vibes are a little better, but you're still what's going on? Then you meet his geisha, and there's this incredible moment of cattiness.
Yes,
that I really enjoy, where Christine is oh well, who are you? Yeah. And
I was his fiance.
What have you done in the last 5 years? And I have a question for you. Mm-hmm. If you hadn't seen your fiance in 5 years and things maybe seemed a little fishy, would you just get right to necking? Because that's what they do.
I know. I mean, maybe. If I was down bad enough.
Fair enough.
But no, probably not. And because she's, I guess, I was trying to figure out if she senses things are weird.
I think she does.
Well, I can't tell if she senses they're weird or if she's just weirded out because of Andrea.
Because of Andrea.
Andrea, sorry.
Andrea.
Because Kirk knows something's wrong. Mm-hmm. Or, he knows something's off pretty quickly because... Right, so the one of those two security guys dies in between meeting Brown and Corby.
Yes.
And Brown is his reasons, he's not really bothered by it. He's just basically it's just we should have installed a railing there. It's a bottomless pit. Yeah, he's just dead. Forget about it. People are falling here all the time. Basically making all these excuses to hide the fact, right, which we know that Brooke, who we don't know is Rook, had pushed him or whatever. And Kirk catches on that something's not right with Dr. Brown.
Kirk's no dummy.
No. And then, so then they go and meet the rest of the crew or the rest of the androids. And Christine only seems thrown off by the fact that there's a woman there.
Correct. But then still just
gotta make out.
Up Dr. Corby.
But then we have the great reveal when Dr. Brown goes crazy.
Yeah.
And this is honestly one of my favorite parts of the episode, where he shoots him and then we cut away and then cut back, and he's got the hole in his gut with all these batteries and wires coming out of it. So right away we know that androids are afoot. I don't know how they don't figure out that they're all androids right away.
I'm not sure, because Dr. Corby doesn't do a great job of hiding
emoting.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, they immediately, like, once it's revealed that Dr. Brown is an android, they're like, oh yeah, Andrea's an android as well.
She is too hot to be a real woman.
Kiss
Captain. Oh, that's right. Now strike him.
They're like, yeah, kiss him, strike him. I was like, is this what he's into? Like, you don't know.
I don't know.
And he's like, there's no emotion behind it. But then, yeah, you kind of catch on that Dr. Corby has no emotion.
Right. And the whole reason he's telling this, I guess, is to justify to Christine that he hasn't been, like, in love with this android.
Correct. Yeah. Right. He's, like, basically like, oh, yeah, well, we've been sleeping together, but, like, I can't be in love with her, and she can't be in love with me, so it's fine. Okay. I mean, if that's how you want to justify it, like, fine. But Christine, girl,
I know, she's like found the, like, real girl doll that he's been using for 5 years, and it's like, that's a red flag,
right?
People.
Your argument can't be, well, she could never love me.
Yeah, she can't emote.
Like, yeah, well, she's doing it for you in other ways. So, like, I don't think that's.
Well, she only takes orders from him, right, or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah. So, yeah, I don't know why Christine, like, it's clear throughout the episode that she's very conflicted. But, I mean, frankly, it is one of those kind of classic tropes where you're like, get out. And she's like,
right. I know.
I need to figure this out. I'm like, there's nothing to figure out. Even if he weren't an android, which we find out at the end of the episode, Dr. Corby, surprise, is an android. Even if he was an android, it doesn't excuse his behavior.
Right. Well, I think what's interesting here, right, is
basically making himself a sex toy who is human in every sense of the word, except
no emotions.
No emotions, allegedly.
Yeah, I think what's interesting, right, is basically they have to construct this relationship because, like, so many of these episodes so far, there's been some personal connection to the antagonist, right? With, like, Gary Mitchell, Kirk knew him. With the Salt Vampire, it was McCoy's old flame. And here they need someone else to have, like, a personal connection. That's not going to be Kirk this time.
Correct.
So they pair us with Nurse Chapel, right? So it's an odd choice because, like, we've talked about the ensemble cast and like how they feed off of each other, and I do think this episode suffers a bit.
Yes.
Because both Spock and McCoy are totally absent. I mean, basically totally absent. McCoy's totally absent. Spock's like around at the very beginning, at the very end.
Yeah, at the end. But
yeah, so the interaction's not
correct
there. So a lot of the weight falls on Shatner for the most part, but also on Majel Barrett. And it's not to say that she doesn't do a good job. It's just it's a very different.
Well, yeah, because we haven't seen
kind
these
of episodes
very much.
Some of the themes that you identified in this episode.
What themes did I identify?
Well, you talked about the whole question about humanity. What does it mean to be a human being? Because at one point, Dr. Corby's like, I can even duplicate your soul.
Yeah,
that's part of his android process.
So I guess, like, a lot of, and this is kind of what I've sort of noted about this episode. I have a lot of different things written down, but they all sort of do, like, fall under the same category of, like, what I guess is, like, the role of an android, because they're not human, but they're not totally machine, right? I mean, that's kind of that's revealed to us at the end, because the Kirk is like sees it as pretty black and white. It's like humans are human and androids are machines. They're computers. They're programmed. But the whole episode is basically revealing to us that, like, these computers can work against their programming,
right?
Or their programming can get muddled, right? Like Rock does it. Rock, whatever.
Yeah.
Because Corby tells him to obey Christine, and so then when there's a moment when Corby sends Rock after Kirk to kill him, and Christine is like, no, like, don't do that. She's chasing Rock, like, telling him, no, like, don't kill Kirk, don't do it. And then Captain Kirk pulls the stalactite off the ceiling. It looks like a giant penis.
Yeah.
And anyway, that's a really funny moment. But then Rock, like, pushes him off a ledge.
Yeah.
Captain Kirk catches the edge and is hanging there. clearly not hanging there. Like, it's so obvious he's standing on a
apple crate, yeah.
And then you see Ruck, like, his mind thinking, like, which of these orders do I follow? Right. And he chooses to save Captain Kirk. And then we see it with Andrea too, where she like basically she gets the only way I can think to say this is she gets like sexually confused.
Yeah.
Because like Kirk is a tactic, I think, to sort of prove the point about androids becoming violent and dangerous. Like comes on to her and then, you know, she's like, no, I can't. I'm programmed for Dr. Corby. But at the very end, she's like telling him, Corby, that she loves him.
Right.
But it's not quite as clear cut as that because she also keeps saying like love, kiss. So is she just equating, right, physical, right, a physical connection with an emotional connection? We're not quite sure.
Right. I mean,
I think Ruck is a little more straightforward where like he clearly goes against some sort of programming when he talks about the old ones who the androids then like killed.
Right.
And then when he sort of has to decide between whose protocols to follow, Corby's or Christine's, and he chooses to save Kirk.
Right.
But like, right, the ethical question is like, what is the role then of an android when like they're not allowed to be human, but they can clearly act pretty human?
Yeah.
Even though the argument is that they don't feel emotion.
Right. Because part of Corby's whole shtick to Christine about the mechanical geisha, he says literally, she's a thing, not a woman.
Correct.
Like that's a line he straight up says about her early on in the episode. And then, we have this scene later where Kirk, kind of, I guess, for lack of a better word, manipulates her emotions because, he's both trying to prove a point. I think also trying to get out of the cell, right? Because he's hoping she'll be confused enough that he can sneak out the door behind her. But then Ruck shows up and fucks everything up. Yeah. But so there's this degree, of like free will making us question how much of a machine these androids are, because both Ruck and she make choices.
Yes.
Between however you want to term it, contradictory orders, contradictory instructions, contradictory desires, maybe.
Yeah.
In these different instances, and if we take the sort of Judeo-Christian model of human beings, one of the defining characteristics, if not the defining characteristic of a human being, is free will, the ability to make choice, and we have two of these characters doing that. So I think there's something going on here with the question of like what makes humans human, how much is human related to just biological things versus this more amorphous idea of the soul, which for Dr. Corby I think is linked to memories, because he talks a lot about like, I can take all your memories or your soul, if you will, or just something to that effect, right? Like he conflates the two. But like my question is like, memories does not a soul make, right? Like
for me, like a soul, and I jotted this down, like, can someone have a soul if their free will is, as Dr. Corby says, like programmed away?
Yeah, right.
Because to me, a soul would be, if I'm thinking about it in this kind of like just like dual, is it your memories or is it your free will? It is more kind of equated to your free will, your ability to make your own choices about whatever. Nothing has nothing to do with my memories. That's more
computer. Yeah, I was gonna say that's more computer like than
So Dr. Corby thinks he's just completely making androids. But the androids that he's made are kind of continually proving that what he has created is something more similar to humans.
Right.
But Kirk is like not into that. Like he doesn't want any of it.
No. Yeah, he thinks the whole
because he thinks I think he thinks the androids are too much like humans. Because he sees their like tendencies, especially in this instance, towards violence. And so I think, right, that like scares him, obviously.
Yeah. Right. Because I guess
it kind of is holding a mirror up to right, human nature in a way.
Because Corby is sort of like this social engineer ultimately, because he says like, I'll show you a way to a practical heaven. And that's his whole project, right? It's like gradually we'll replace all these human beings with androids, and then there will be no disease, no war, no forever. Swears, no body odor. I mean, it's like everything that was ever bad about people will be gone. So it's this very like utopian human perfectibility thing that to me reads as like vaguely a commentary on like totalitarianism.
Well, and Kirk says that too. He's like, there have been people like you all throughout history, Genghis Khan, Hitler, like who just want to erase everything that's different and make everybody just like, exactly the same. No emotion, just everybody working for the same cause.
Everybody's worker bees, yeah, it's like a reaction to like the 30s. The whole 30s idea of like the mass man was like this ideal, like everybody just pulls together and does this one thing, like ants, basically. Yeah. So Kirk's positing this opposite thing. But what's interesting is he doesn't see the sort of potential within the androids to possibly, basically, refute what Corby's saying.
Exactly.
Right.
Which is very interesting. And I think it's just interesting because this is always kind of the question around androids, right? Like, I think sort of since the concept of android in science fiction has existed, there has always sort of been this idea of like, well, what do you do with an android? Because they're not human, but they're not machine. Right. So like, where do they fit in? And how human can they become? And can they fool us into thinking that they're human, right? I'm thinking, do androids do electric sheep, right? And if an android is able to just like assimilate, what's the problem, right? Like that seems to be
that's the
most dangerous thing, is an android assimilating into
being able to pass as human, right? Without, I mean, that's a Blade Runner too. Like that's the whole thing with Blade. They become dangerous precisely because they are indistinguishable from human beings. Yeah.
And it seems like, right, these androids are, that's like, they're starting on that path to be, right, indistinguishable, because they are starting to have the ability to, go against their programming, feel some sort of emotion. Like Ruck says that it's logic, right?
Right, he does say that.
But then he says survival cancels out programming. It's logic.
Yeah.
So, right, the logic is that your drive to survive is going to beat out whatever program is put into you every single time. An android's not going to walk off a ledge just because it's programmed to. Right. And yes, that is logic, but just because it is logic doesn't mean that everything an android does is logical.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yes. Yeah. In other words, it's motivated by the will to survive in the same way that we are. Yeah. To again go back to Blade Runner.
Yeah. So it is. I do think this episode is really interesting for that reason, because I don't know enough about the kind of history of the discussion of androids before this episode. I'm trying to think, when Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep was published.
It was in the 60s.
Around the same time.
It's around the same time.
But I don't know exactly what year.
I don't remember the date.
But right, this has to be some of the earliest sort of.
Yeah, I don't know, because I'm trying to think, like, isn't that Fritz Lang movie, Metropolis? Isn't there a robot in that?
There is, but I don't know if it's a robot.
Yeah, I don't know if it's an android or robot.
Right, because androids and robots are a little different.
Yeah, because like Asimov was writing about robots too. Like he had his whole laws of robotics.
Right, exactly. But that's a little different, right? Because a robot is clearly not
machine and
human and more machine. I mean, the fear is always there, right? That a robot becomes, AI, right, is going to become close enough to human, but no matter what, a robot is always going to look machine, whereas an android may not always present as onesie on machine, especially when she has her side boob showing and Aaron is drooling in front of his TV. So, I was a little confused about the duplicator machine.
Yeah.
Why can't it duplicate clothes?
I don't know. I don't know why they have to be nude, and also, yeah. And then where did the clothes come from is my other question, frankly.
Well, he had that extra jumpsuit. Dr. Kirby.
I know, but I mean, where did they come from in the first place?
I don't know. Okay. Andrea's sewing. She's taking parts of her jumpsuit away.
That would explain, actually.
That would explain why hers is so skimpy. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know why.
I don't know. Equal opportunity horniness, I guess.
I guess so.
Yeah, because he's like totally nude under there. It's just like a black bar across his...
I mean, you're glad that thing's spinning so fast. Yeah. There's like a little shadow, or you'd be seeing way more of William Shatner than you'd want to. And also this foam dummy.
Oh my god, yeah.
The thing that becomes the android is this just like spray foam dummy that doesn't even have full limbs. It's
Did you have creepy crawlers growing up as a kid? Did you ever do those with like the little oven with the bugs and they came out like rubbery?
No, what is this?
So you know, like Easy Bake Oven?
Yes.
For girls or for boys, because we had to gender everything.
Yeah, of course.
They had this like
boys
it was a
bake Aaron.
No, so it was this oven where you would get this like metal tray, which was a huge burning hazard, which they made insane toys even when we were kids.
They really did.
And it would have these little like you pour this like goo basically into the tray, and then it would cook and it would come out like rubbery, and it looks exactly like that. So like you have like a rubber scorpion that was like lime green, just like that.
Yeah.
Like, it immediately reminded me of creepy crawlers. It's the
like,
same thing.
Yeah,
and it's like not a full body. It's like stubby legs, stubby arms, of like face
torso, but like nothing.
But nothing features. Yeah, it's like a Lego head basically.
Yeah, it's bizarre.
Yeah, it's really weird. He just like plops it down.
Centrifuge it. And...
I mean, I guess they needed a prop, but yeah, I don't know why they. It would have made more sense to like throw a mannequin or something on there. But...
What did they imagine the future of food was? There's some food in this episode, and there's been food in other episodes. Yes. And the food in this episode is like bananas crazy, especially in juxtaposition with what I have to assume is like the furniture that they inherited from the old ones, because it does look like something that would be in King Arthur's castle. Yeah. But then the food is like, I don't know, slop, but it then has these really brightly colored chunks in it that one could say would be like a sweet potato based on the orange, but I don't know what the red and green would be.
Yeah.
Do we ever learn what the future of food is?
More so in later series, I think. Like food's throughout, but I guess in terms of like where it comes from, is that what you're asking? More or less?
Yeah, what do they eat? Where does it come from?
By Next Generation, it's more explicitly explained like how the ship has food. So they have like a replicator system that like the transporter, right? That breaks down matter and then moves it somewhere else. They use similar technology to create food.
Okay.
So like it creates matter and turns it into food.
Okay.
That they can eat. At this point, I'm not sure it's clear how it works or consistent how it works, because I seem to remember in an earlier episode we see
in the Naked Time, Joe, they're like in a cafeteria and Joe or whatever his name is, Joe, I think, like gets food, but it's like really weird how it appears.
Right, and like he doesn't get it from anywhere, right? It's just we're dropped in the middle of the scene.
No, he like gets the food, but
I can't remember.
I didn't register.
Yeah, because I don't know if there's an unlimited supply yet. I guess.
Okay.
Like in the Next Generation, as long as they have power, they can
make food.
But I don't know. I have to look into that more.
Okay. How did they get the sound of the doors?
Don't know that. I do know that they were not always good at opening and closing. There's people who walk into them.
Oh, okay. So maybe the sound of the doors is actually the sound of the doors, and it's not like a fully work sound.
Maybe no, I think it is Foley, but no, it sounds like it was a Foley.
Because it's always the same, and there's always like a weird little kind of chalky squeak.
It says it was created for the classic Trek TV series in the 60s, presumably by the show's sound editor, Sam Horta. It's been used in some other shows that he worked on. So it sounds like he came up with it.
Okay.
Part of it is incorporated into laser blasts. So like it's been used elsewhere, but I don't know if it says anything about how it was made.
That's fine.
Apparently used on Dexter's Laboratory, Futurama.
It's great, yes, of course.
So Yeah, I wish I knew a better answer to that.
That's okay. You probably have an answer to this one. I think I do too, but I just want to confirm. I don't know for sure. So, like, right, the Uhura's like earpieces she wears, and they're like communicators, like Bluetooth things, whatever we called those things that horrible people would like wear in their ears all the time, and like flip phones.
Yeah,
they're like based off of this, right?
Yeah, the flip phones for sure.
Okay.
And I think for sure the Bluetooth too.
Okay, that's what I thought, but I wanted to confirm.
And when we get to next generation, you'll see tablets too.
Okay.
So like the things that they based, like the iPad off of.
That's so cool.
Yeah, that's wild. Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense, I suppose. Like, what else would a phone, right? Like a small phone look like? But it is interesting to think about, like, if we didn't have the cultural cachet of Star Trek, like what a cell phone may have looked like instead. Like, would we have had, like the brick, not the brick, but right, like not flip phones?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Probably.
It's just,
I don't know.
Right? Like, if no one had that in their brain, what could cell phones have been?
Yeah, because I can't think of any other media on top of my head that had something similar to that. Before that, I mean.
Yeah.
No, so very definitely.
2 of my questions that I thought of, 3, whatever. My questions for those episodes, I guess those 2 questions. And I think the communicator one leads nicely into our next episode, Miri, because the communicators play a really important role in this episode. Do you have a description of this episode?
I had one more fun fact.
Oh, that's right. Oh, sorry, I'm running away.
It's okay. So you are familiar with the term red shirt?
Yeah.
From the
sports?
No, from the show. Do you know anything about the red shirts phenomenon in Star Trek?
Oh no, I'm just thinking he's red shirted as
no. I mean, it's kind of the same. No. So the 2 security guys who get killed wear red shirts. So throughout the series, the red shirts always get killed. Yeah,
security.
There's security.
That makes sense, right?
But so they get called red shirts because they're all these nameless people that get.
Okay, that's very.
But this is the first consistent, I think, appearance. Okay. Because in the earlier episodes, right, with the salt vampire, I don't think they're. I think he's a yellow.
Well, they were still figuring out the costumes.
So this is the first true red shirt.
That's really funny.
Red shirt murder. But as you said, communicators lead us nicely into
Miri.
All right, so Miri, another short little summary here. So, responding to an Earth-like recording over 100 light years from Earth, the USS Enterprise discovers a planet that is an exact copy of Earth.
What?
It has the same mass, circumference, density, and atmosphere. Even the topography is identical. A strange group of children are discovered.
That's it? Wow.
Yeah.
Where do we start then?
Well, I suppose we could start with the Gray Lady. Let me get the correct date here. Thursday, October 27th, 1966 is when Miri first aired.
Okay.
In the world of the United States, I guess, that day. The president salutes American fighting men in person on a secret trip to Vietnam.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm. President visits GIs in Vietnam on surprise trip, spends 2.5 hours at base at Cam Ranh Bay, greeting the men and praising them. So apparently gave some medals, jests, and shakes hands. After returning to Manila, he flew on to Thailand.
What a stand-up chap.
Yeah. 43 sailors died in a fire on an aircraft carrier off of Vietnam. Accident is U.S. Navy's worst of war.
I wonder if LBJ visited them.
Probably not, because it was on fire. The Pope named some guy the Bishop of Rochester.
Oh.
It's a little Catholic news for you. Some atom control stuff. Paris resists plan for European atom control. So this may have been when France was pursuing the bomb, probably. And that's pretty much it.
So Vietnam, mostly.
Yeah, Vietnam heavy, which I think is going to be the case for the rest of the show, frankly.
Yeah. The moon landing will happen at some point.
Yes, although will the show still be airing?
I don't know. I mean, we'll have Apollo missions.
We will, yeah. We had one earlier about one of the space.
So we should have a few more Apollo missions before we get to 11.
But yeah, Miri is an odd one. Brief summary: they get this distress call. Kirk, Spock, Ensign Rand, weirdly enough.
Yeah.
And then one other guy.
Bones.
Well, no, but isn't there like a random crewman too?
2 random crewmen.
2 random, yep. Yeah. So they beam down to figure out what's going on. Obviously, they're confused that it looks exactly like Earth.
Yep.
And
in the 1960s.
In the 1960s or earlier, actually. Not. It's
no,
not.
It's
is it supposed
60s,
to be contemporary?
Yeah.
Okay. I guess it is the way the kids are dressed, yeah. And while they're like faffing around looking at all the crap, because it's like a debris strewn street.
It looks like Old West. I mean, it looks like a ghost town.
It does. Yeah, there's like garbage everywhere and burned out cars and stuff. McCoy is like fiddling around with this tricycle that they find. I don't know why they like glom onto this trike. Like picks it up, hands it to Spock. Spock hands it to Bones, and Bones is like looking at it.
Bones like emotionally
spinning the tire on this busted up tricycle, and then he gets attacked by this like purple looking.
Just like when I was a boy.
This purple looking guy who's like a mutant. I mean, we don't know what he is, but he's just like splotchy purple with like
flying purple people.
Again, maybe a blonde wig. He has like kind of a monkey's hairdo going on. And he jumps on Bones.
Yep.
They like get him off. They don't mean to kill him, but he like dies because of we find out later why. But like he suddenly has like a fit.
Well, yeah, and he beat the hell out of him.
Well, they kind of do, but like not enough to kill him.
Well, no, but they really beat the hell out of him. I mean, like, yeah, he attacked Bones, but like, damn.
Well, Kirk's got to throw at least one punch.
Punch the shit out of this poor guy.
And he's like, "It was my bike."
Well, yeah, he's like he really loves this bike, and then he dies.
And he dies, and then they find this girl hiding in a closet, who we found was named Miri. And then they hear like these unsettling children singing, and then like shit gets thrown at them from the rooftops.
Shudder.
So basically, the long story short, they figure out that the planet is there's just children.
There's just children,
and the adults are these like disfigured and like insanely violent.
I would say they're really violent. They've all like killed each other, and so the kids are scared of adults. Right. They're really distrustful of adults because, yes, they've all like attacked one another, and then we come to find out as the kids get older, they succumb to this same situation and then attack, and so the kids they're very fearful of grown-ups, or what do we call them? Grups. And I knew about Grups.
How did you know about Grups?
I knew about Grups from an episode of Gilmore Girls, where one of the characters refers to a group of adults as Luke's fellow Grups. And Luke is like, Grups? And she goes, what? You've never seen original Star Trek? So I actually, as soon as I heard Miri say Grups, I was like, oh yes, I know exactly. Like I
get that reference
to this, actually. And it's Gilmore Girls.
Nice.
I just have to say, this whole episode made me very uncomfy lumpy.
I can imagine why. They find this young girl in the closet, hiding, terrified. And they basically get her out and comfort her. Ensign Rand is trying to calm her down. But you express, unsurprisingly, because it's a little odd, some of the discomfort with how this. So I guess maybe to walk it back briefly, to jump ahead, but also to kind of set the stage for the conversation, right? Like one of the big themes of the episode then becomes this whole idea of like the transition from childhood to puberty, right? And I will say it's better than I was expecting, because I kind of thought the direction this episode was going to go is just like children are innocent and then they become adults who are monsters. But it does something more complicated than that. But there is this like kind of psychosexual dynamic to it that is horrible. Weird. It's like the reverse of the Charlie X. I felt that's how I read. Like, it was sort of flipped. Like, right, he's this like horny teenage boy who's like awful with particularly Ensign Rand. And then we have this, and he's jealous of Kirk, right? There's this like father son Freudian thing going on, and here we have the opposite. I guess we have the Electra complex.
I guess so.
Because at one point Kirk and Ensign Rand have this moment where she says, I was always trying to get you to notice my legs, and now look at my leg. And she's got like this big boil from this virus
disease.
But Mira's watching it from behind the door or whatever. Becomes jealous, right? So there's that. I think it's partly just a recapitulation of that.
Yeah.
But it is more unsettling, I think.
Because during Charlie X, Ensign Rand, like, isn't doing anything
isn't encouraging
to, like, encourage lead on Charlie. And in this episode, while Kirk may not think he's doing anything to encourage Miri, the, I would say the direction and musical cues definitely make it seem like he's like flirty with her in like a creepy way, not in like a funny, cute. Not that there would be a funny, cute way for this adult man to be flirting with this prepubescent girl, but like there's like long looks.
Yeah,
you know, he asks like what her name is. She says Miri. She says, "What's yours?" He said, "It's Jim." She said, "I like that name." And he says something about like her name is a pretty name for a pretty girl, and it's like,
I know, like the way to do this right is to have her be like the flirty one and he not respond to it. But it doesn't work out.
But it's like it's like his attempts to, I guess, like comfort her, put her come off as like
I wasn't clear if the suggestion is that he's supposed. In other words, he sees her as younger than she feels. I don't know. I don't know if that's what they were trying to go for. Is it like there's this? I don't know. Either way, it's a weird choice. I'm not sure why they went with it. Frankly,
I don't like it.
It's not great. There are other things about the episode I like, but that.
I think there are some interesting things about the episode, but watching really it, I was just like really uncomfortable by this whole thing, and then the fact that he like emotionally manipulates her or like uses this kind of emotional connection. I guess it is emotional manipulating, right? He uses this emotional connection to manipulate her into like doing things for him, right? He's like, "Oh, can you show me where the kids are?" He has her doing like hilarious kind of menial tasks throughout the episode. Like he's just like, "Oh, can you clean that desk?" And she's like, "Of course." "Oh, can you sharpen more pencils?" And she's like, "Happy to." And it just seems
it's really weird,
right? Like, is Kirk that oblivious to the fact that this girl is clearly has a crush on him?
I don't know if that's what they're trying to.
It makes it
say, but
I think they are. Because at one point, right, doesn't like Spock or Bones or someone have to say like
I think it's Spock. I can't remember.
One of them says like, "Well, she is like clearly is infatuated with you." So obviously Kirk is supposed to be meant to like not understand what he's doing,
which again, because I think it goes back to the thing where he sees her as younger than she actually is, or something. Like, in other words, he doesn't see the flirtation as going to encourage her because in her mind she's too young to be interested in.
In his mind,
in his mind she's too young to be interested, or something. I think that's the.
But the whole way is like
it's just unnecessary is the thing. Like, I'm not sure what the purpose of it
and the fact that I don't know. I think again like the musical cues, the way the director of the episode like chose to kind of like block these scenes or like have these interactions occur. They don't indicate to us enough that Kirk doesn't know what he's doing.
Right.
Even if we eventually are meant to believe that like, oh, maybe he was just oblivious.
Right. Yeah, I think by the end we're meant to believe that, but it's a weird choice.
Yeah. I love a demon children plotline.
Yeah, it's great. I love that the children become the antagonists.
Yeah.
It's good. And they're like this little like brat pack.
Yeah, Lord of the Flies.
Yeah, it was very much William Golding.
And the question is, right, like, why is this assumption always that when children are left to their own devices, they're just going to become like feral?
Yeah, right. I mean, they're described as basically being animals or feral.
Yeah.
Multiple times by different characters.
Like why? Why is that just the assumption?
I guess because the theory here, right, is that they haven't socialized. I think because at the end, right, they say they're going to send all these, what is it, like tutors or something. At the very end of the episode, teachers and I think tutors, something like. In other words, like they need to be educated. I think. But yeah, it's like they run wild without structure. Because at one point, Kirk also said that kids like to be told what to do.
Yeah, he says, I have this actually written down. Like, he says that children need adults. They like to have direction. Yeah. Kirk has clearly not spent enough time around children to know that, like, children don't want direction, nor do they want to be reasoned with. At the end, he tries to, like, reason with this group of children, and they're just like, bang, bang, smash, smash, kill, kill. And that's the thing that is, like, what is this idea about child psychology that if a child doesn't have a group of children does not have an adult, that they are going to all of a sudden want to kill everything? This is insane to me. You're laughing. I mean, children are crazy, but I don't think that this is what would happen. I especially don't think this is what would happen if, like, there were 12 and 13-year-olds in the mix.
Yeah, probably not.
Speaking, maybe TMI from my own experience, I didn't cross the threshold till womanhood till I was like 13 years old. I don't think I was going to be out there like
beating up kids or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. Adults.
Right. I mean, it seems to be drawing from Lord of the Flies, probably.
Yeah, 100%.
So maybe that's why it's structured this way, but.
But like, what I just don't. It frustrates me that, like, the default is like, okay, kids left to their own devices are just gonna be demons, monsters. And part of it is like, okay, well, yes, we could say they're afraid of grown-ups because grown-ups have obviously these grown-ups aren't displaying those same behaviors. So, I mean, we find out it's been 300 years. That's a whole like.
Yeah. Right. So maybe that's part of it. Yeah, the timeline thing is a little confusing to me. Because at one point, like, Kirk asks Spock how old something is, and Spock right away is like, it's 300 years old. I'm like, how do you know? How do we know we're operating on the same time scale at that point?
Right.
Just because there's a bunch of cobwebs around doesn't mean that this planet Earth is the same.
The cobwebs.
Yeah, time. It's speaking of Addams Family guest stars.
Well, yeah, these are the same cobwebs over. Yeah, but also, again, kind of to the same point, like, kids left to their own devices are just going to live in absolute filth. That
I would believe, actually.
I wouldn't expect a child to clean, but, like, why are there so many cobwebs? You'd think that, like, I don't know, eventually someone would be like, I've walked through too many cobwebs.
Yeah, I mean, the hospital, it makes sense, right? Because the kids avoid it.
Correct.
Because it's scary.
But, like, the schoolroom.
But yeah, I know the schoolroom's full of it, and, like, the toy shop that they go into. That I think they've been. I don't know. It's unclear to me where the kids, like, are all the time. I think they're supposed to be in the school. I don't know.
But it's just, I don't know. Like, I think it's interesting. I think it's like the feral children thing always again kind of annoys me. I guess. Why is that just automatic?
Yeah,
unsupervised children are gonna be that way.
I think because
it's not automatic.
No, I think it's like, I mean, it's like any other, like, social breakdown story,
so.
right?
But like, then we find out it's been 300 years, and you're thinking these kids have lived with no structure for 300. Like, and I don't mean structure in terms of like adult structure, but right, just
no supervised play for 300 years.
But like, they've really just been living for 300 years with like.
Yeah, I guess, and like gradually the older ones have been dying off because of the sickness.
I guess so.
Because the idea is they've been progressively getting younger as a cohort, right?
Yes, they have to be.
Right. Because we learn, right, there's only 6 months of food left. So it seems like at some point there were enough older kids to like keep a semblance of a social order going.
So that was another question I have.
Yeah.
The kids are smart enough to figure out that they need to steal the communicators in order to like
disrupt the
get the grown-ups to, I guess, die.
It's either that or they don't want more grown-ups to come. Something. Yeah, either way, right. They make the connection.
They figure out they need to steal the communicators in order to do this, but they aren't smart enough to figure out that they're running out of food. And also, how have they had food for 300 years? Yeah, that's why I'm thinking, I don't know. There must have been the older kids. There must have been enough older kids at one point that they were. I don't know. You can't really poke too many. If you start poking too many holes, the whole thing comes apart. Well, I've poked a hole. The thing is coming apart. Right. the food thing doesn't work out, Aaron, even if there are too many older kids. Even canned goods after 300 years aren't going to be like
great,
real great for eating.
Twinkie, maybe. But,
maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. Right, because I kind of thought what was going to happen was we were going to find out somehow that it wasn't the kids were 300 years old. It was just that something to do with like the life cycle speeds or something. So in other words, I thought that there were going to be.
Nope.
But yeah, it's just these kids have been.
They've had enough food for 300 years.
Right. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't have any answer for
That's fine. You don't need to.
I think there's some serious problems with this episode.
There's one child who's probably should have been dead long ago, and it's the 45-year-old actor that they cast to be
the lead. Yeah. Oh my god, he looks like
so old.
He looks. Yeah, he looks like the town drunk from every Western from the like 50s. Yeah. He's just like kind of, I know no other way to describe it. It's not very nice, but like pig face.
Yes.
Man.
Yes.
With like a mop of hair and sideburns. His fucking sideburns.
And he's clearly trying to move like a child.
Yeah, but it's not working. Can't. No, it's like in the Irishman when Robert De Niro tries to move like a young man, but he's like 80 years old, so he walks like an old man.
Because he has arthritis.
Yeah, he's like, it's really wild. Because, I mean, the actress who plays Miri is also a little older, but she seems closer, at least, in theory.
She seems closer.
But I think they also, like, with her hair, and, like, they make her look younger. But
when I see the two of them together, like, at the end, there's kind of a shot where they're together.
Yeah.
And you can tell that they're probably more, like, commensurate in age. But, I think she obviously looks a little younger, and she does a better job of playing.
Yes, she does. Yeah.
She's actually, I think,
she's a good actress.
She's a really good actress. Because she is, like, distraught at the beginning. I mean, her, like, I was pretty impressed by her, her chops. He's
not great.
No, he's terrible.
He's like every like every high school teen in those 50s movies when they're all like 35. Yes. He's just playing that part.
All right, gang, we don't like the grups and we're gonna get them. Bang bang. Yeah, so like that kid is maybe not 45 years old, but
he's also older.
He has the teeth of a 45-year-old.
I was gonna say, yeah.
They've got this. They cast this one kid who has like a donkey mouth on the mouth of a boy, and then the other kids are like very age appropriate. Yeah. So that's the funny thing is like they don't trust these little.
They don't trust them to do the lines.
Children to do the lines,
and they don't really have any lines.
It's a very diverse group.
It is. I did notice that. Yeah.
It's like really diverse. They've got a few Asian kids in there. Some
pretty even mix of boys and girls.
Mix of boys and girls. Pretty diverse age range.
Seemed to be, from pretty little
guy,
like maybe like 5 or 6.
There's some 5 or 6-year-old kids. Yeah. One of them looks very similar to one of our friends' kids. My husband pointed out like right away. He's like, "Oh, that looks like one of our friends' little kids." And I was like, "Oh my gosh." Identical. It's the little girl who wears the green wig.
Oh, the green wig,
the blonde girl wearing the green wig looks like our friend's child.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, this is not one of my favorite episodes.
No, I mean it's like
I think I think the kids as the villains is fun.
Yeah, it is very fun.
But I'm less.
There are a few kind of like funny things that I have to know about this episode.
Sure.
So there's one point where like Bones finds out that he like has this disease, which. If you haven't seen the episode, kind of just looks like it's like blue, like sort of like mold, like on your skin.
Yeah.
Which, I don't love the implication of old people turning moldy, but
it's like a really gross looking scab. I guess is maybe the best way to.
Scab. Yeah. And she like, so Bones like gets a scab, and Miri like looks at him and says, "When you're old, it spreads real fast." Got him. And you can tell his face, like, you don't know if the line is actually supposed to be funny, like, she's calling Bones old, but, like, I think she kind of is.
Yeah.
So I loved that. I also hilariously, I thought it was very hilarious, the whole interaction between Kirk and Ensign Rand that Miri gets really jealous of is this funny outburst. First of all, because we've learned that this disease makes the adults not only mold, but also have these like really violent emotional outbursts. So that's kind of what is happening with Ensign Rand. It's like you don't even know when she tells Kirk, like, oh, I was trying to get you to look at my legs. You don't know where that's coming from. Like, is this sort of irrational? I'm choosing to tell you this, or is this just like this is?
Oh, I think the filter's just off. Disease, I think the filter's just off. Yeah.
So first of all, there's Miri like misinterpreting sort of what's happening there, but then there's this like really awkward hug between Kirk and Ensign Rand, where he's like patting her back. Like he looks very uncomfortable and is just like pat, 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 and like I'm sorry. But obviously Miri is a child. If she thinks that there's anything sexual happening in this, like, back pat, awkward hug, where he's just like, we're all scared.
Yeah, oh my god, I know.
But, hell hath no fury, so she tries to get the kids to,
Yeah.
thwart the Grumps.
Right. The Grumps.
And then realizes, obviously, she was wrong, blah, blah, blah. Everybody gets saved. Isn't that wonderful? Because she, gasp, gets moldy.
She does.
Which, does that mean she's starting her period?
I don't know. I think it's just more generally like you're a teen now. Yeah. I don't know if we're meant to go that far, but possibly. I mean, yeah, I would not be unconvinced that, that's maybe part of it. I don't know.
I would not be unconvinced only because there's like again, kind of cringy.
I mean, I don't know how old she's supposed to be.
I don't know.
So, yeah, I don't know.
But there's like the whole sort of cringy, right?
Oh,
like,
I know, yeah.
Conversations that they keep having about like, she's not going to be a little girl anymore. She's going to be a young woman. And I'm just like, ugh.
I know. I kept hearing that awful song. The Girl You'll Be a Woman Soon. Ew. From like the 50s. Don't listen, it's creepy as hell. But like the line is literally Girl You'll Be a Woman Soon.
I mean, that's basically what they keep like talking about.
It's like the statutory rape theme song. Ew. It's like so gross.
So yeah, they keep
that comes up a lot.
Discussing how she's gonna be a young woman. Yeah. And I just don't love that.
No. I mean, it's not good. What else you got?
I have a question.
Sure.
Are we just not going to acknowledge the fact that they discovered Earth 2.0?
Yeah, I guess.
That's so weird. That's the weirdest thing to me about this whole episode.
Yeah, so it just like it gets dropped basically after they get down. After they get down there's no more like discussion of like why, how.
Nothing.
No, and like up to this point, I guess we're led to believe that the development of the Earth was the same until they started doing this immortality or life lengthening experiment.
Life prolongation.
Yeah. So sorry, we didn't mention this before, but like the whole virus was created by this researcher who was trying to find life prolongation.
Right, but it only
for people there, and it only affects humans because Spock is not affected. Right, but he can be a carrier.
Yes, he does. He can be a carrier, and the kind of experiment sort of worked because
it made you
long. Kids have these long lives, but then as soon as they hit adulthood, they get moldy and go crazy and die. So it only worked for the children. Anyone who was already an adult
died pretty
quickly.
Yeah.
But yeah, they just like land on Earth 2.0.
Yeah.
And that's that. They don't they don't talk about it. No one's very fussed by the fact that there is an exact copy.
Continents are the same.
So strange.
It is wild.
I hear the things I was obsessed with in these episodes. Okay.
What you got?
I've got overalls. I was really obsessed with these weird, harlequin-y.
Oh yeah.
Overall jumpsuits that Dr. what's his name?
Brown and
Dr. Brown and Dr. Corby and Andrea were all wearing. I thought they were very funny, and I may or may not make one for myself for Halloween next year. They were really good.
They were good. And they had bell-bottom pants.
I probably would not wear one with nothing underneath. That feels unsafe to me.
And cold.
Personally. Really cold, a little unsafe. I
Somebody should have known she's an android.
Typically wear turtlenecks. I don't like to have that much skin exposed. I loved the foam dummy. I was obsessed with the foam dummy because it was just really bad.
It's really bad.
And the fact that they're like, oh, a human can get made. A humanoid android can get made from this.
Yeah.
Also, this is a question. Once the foam dummy becomes the android, they have to make a new foam dummy.
I think. I assume, because that foam dummy is inside the android now, right?
It seems like a lot of work.
It does, yeah.
And then I told you not to talk about Rock's.
No, yeah, his flouncy shirt.
I love his floral shirt, which is part of his cape.
It is, yeah.
He's got this big sort of gray.
Yeah, I don't know what you call
cape situation, yeah. And the inside it's got like this high collar. The inside of the collar is the same sort of like pink floral pattern as his blouse.
Yeah.
And it's just really great. I love his blouse. As far as Miri obsessions go, I wrote down Miri's mullet.
Yeah, it's a weird hairdo.
She doesn't have a mullet. I realized later on in the first shots, it definitely looks like she has.
Looks weird, but
like a really long mullet. I realized later that it's like pinned. back.
Right.
Again, I think in an attempt to make her look
it's supposed to look younger, yeah.
But it looks like
it's a weird hair.
I really like it. I'm also obsessed with that kid with the giant teeth. He's so annoying.
And also like 40 years old.
So terrible. But like, why are his teeth so big? I don't know if he's that old.
He might not be. I don't know. I was trying to see. I was going to look at the cast actually because I was trying to figure out who he is and who the other awful
boy is. John or whatever his name is.
Yeah, is that his name in the show?
I think so.
Hold on, let me see it because I want to know if they're anybody at all famous, which I kind of doubt, but.
I didn't see any names. I did watch the credits for this one. I didn't see any names I recognized.
Oh, John Megna is the donkey teeth kid.
Okay.
He would have been. Oh, he would have only been like 14.
Okay, yeah.
So he was actually
a kid.
Oh shit, he was Dylan to Kill a Mockingbird.
No way.
Yeah, it's the same kid. Yeah. Oh. I don't know what he did. Oh man, he died of AIDS. Now I feel bad.
Oh, that's so sad.
But yeah, he was in mostly shows, a couple movies. Not a huge. Oh, he's in Godfather Part 2, but uncredited. But yeah, he wasn't in a ton of stuff.
Yeah, but To Kill a Mockingbird.
Yeah, To Kill a Mockingbird, Smokey and the Bandit 2.
Okay.
Oh, he's in Butch Cassidy. Oh, Butch and Sundance, the early days. Yeah, sorry. But yeah, so that's who that was. I don't know if I can find the other. He might not have a Wikipedia entry.
Okay.
This other guy, I don't think he does. So.
Well, anyway, I'm obsessed with him.
Yeah.
Kind of his whole
vibe.
I love his giant teeth. I love his
hammer.
I love his hammer, his club, whatever he has. And his like
he's got like a blouse thing,
Hawaiian shirt that he's wearing.
It's a shirt or like a smock.
It's something.
I think it's a smock almost.
I don't know. He's got.
Miri's in like a muumuu.
Miri's in like a very 1960s like little girl dress.
Because it looks like a muumuu.
Yeah, it's like a muumuu, but like for an adult, it would be a muumuu. Okay. But I think for a little girl, right, it's just like a kind of shapeless dress.
A sock.
Yeah.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm sort of obsessed with like all the kind of like fashion choices for the kids in this episode. Right. Miri, John or whatever his name is. He's like in like an army jacket and these kind of funky slouchy boots.
I know, he's supposed to be like this like counterculture guy.
Yeah.
Which is a weird choice. And then like a couple kids in army helmets.
Yeah. And there's like one kid who like attacks Kirk with a club who has like a
is he with the mask?
Feather in his hair.
Oh yeah,
like,
he has the
like a feather and like a vest. Yeah, there's the kid who wears like the creepy mask. Like I think the way that they've costumed the kids is good. And interesting. So I mean it makes sense, right? Because if we're thinking this is the 60s or the Earth 2.0 equivalent, they're just like, well, what would kids
do,
without adults wear today if they were again feral? So yeah, I'm kind of obsessed with the whole sort of group of children and the way they look. but especially for whatever he's this big teeth kid. I love him.
I'm obsessed with the no smoking sign in the laboratory. The very large no smoking sign.
Oh, and I am obsessed. This is a late obsession, but Kirk and Bones have this funny interaction that I'm obsessed with, where Bones is using a what would have been then modern microscope, and Kirk tries explaining it to him, and Bones is like, "Leave me alone."
Yeah. Shut
up. So yeah, those are my obsessions for this episode. Mostly it's the overalls.
Yeah.
A lot of good kind of fashion-y moments, I think. Mm-hmm. Right? I like the overalls. I like Ruck's sort of vibe, and then the kids' look.
Yeah, I think really the set dressing in the first one is really good. Overall.
I agree.
The second one, the cobwebs are a problem. Otherwise, I think it looks great. Like, it's a huge sound, huge studio backlot. Great.
I wonder how much they spent on cobwebs.
I don't know. I'm guessing they got them from the Munsters.
The cobweb budget.
Yeah, they're like, we got to borrow. You got to go to the Munsters set and get all their cobwebs.
What a pain! What a pain to clean up.
Yeah, but okay. So I guess it's time to rate out of 10 tribbles. So first, what are Little Girls Made Of? What's your score out of 10?
7.
Okay.
6.
Really?
Yeah. I like the question of like androids. I think that's really interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know if I love the like. It was a really slow episode.
It is slow.
I don't want to say I don't want to love the approach, because I do think they did kind of a nice job of like, Kirk thinks they're not human. Crombie thinks they're completely computer. Obviously, or Corby thinks they're completely computer. Obviously, there's something else. Right? I think they did a really good job of showing that. I just thought the episode itself was incredibly slow.
Yeah, I think they need to get to the problem sooner. Because I like the questions it's posing, but it takes a long time to get there. So yeah, I guess.
Like, I got a little bored.
I guess I'd give it a 7. Out of 10.
You're giving it at least 2 extra points for Andrea's side boob.
Maybe not just her side boob.
Her whole vibe. Side boob, front boob, whatever. 2 points for boobs. Moving on. Miri.
Yeah, what's your rating for Miri?
5.
Okay. Yeah.
And I'm docking a lot of points for the ick that I get.
Yeah, the ick is the problem.
Yeah.
I think without the ick, it would be better. I think I'll probably also give it a 5.
Yeah. Again, the ick for Miri, I don't know why it bothers me so much, these feral children, but...
Oh, that part doesn't bother me as much, but the weird sexual dynamic bothers me quite a bit.
That wasn't clearly...
It's just not well done.
No, exactly.
It could have been done a different way. Yeah. And also, like I said, I'm not convinced it needs to be part of the episode that much. It just becomes a vehicle for making plot points occur. Mm-hmm.
Poor casting, I think, too. Right, like the adult...
the guy, the adult man.
Right, but also, right, Miri, she looks much younger than this man that they cast. But again, part of the ick, right? She is obviously older, so it's harder to get this idea that maybe Kirk thinks she's younger than she is, because she obviously doesn't look that way.
Right, it's the same problem that Charlie X had too.
Yeah. So, 5, unfortunately. Even though,
I think I'll give it a 5 as well.
Even though it moves along much faster than what our Little Girls Made Of, but.
All right. Well, I think it's time for us to beam back to the ship.
Alrighty.
And we'll see you all next time.
Beam me up.
Beam me up.